The Council of Three. The world had once been one of the Eldar's paradise worlds. Green fields and great forests had swept over the land, the skyline marred only by the occasional curving arch of the Xenos architecture. The Eldar had been careful to preserve the land, disturbing it as little as possible save for necessary portals and structures. That world had died centuries ago, and Magnus stood atop a hill overlooking a scorched, dried wasteland. The fallen Primarch made his way down the hill, loose sand slipping beneath his boots as he walked. A dry wind swept in from the east, howling over the barren wastes like a hunting banshee. Magnus paid it no mind, the terrors of the warp had long dulled his reactions to such petty things as wind. And there were more important matters to deal with. The structure he approached had once been a great amphitheater. Now the only song to be sung was that of the wind, the only performance the finishing moves of a game thrown into disarray. Magnus shored up his power as he stepped into the circle, keenly aware that he had come under watch from a new source. "You've come alone, brother," a low voice hissed from behind Magnus. "I need no guards to watch over me, Fulgrim," Magnus countered, staring straight ahead as the Primarch of the Emperor's children circled him. Magnus had always been a giant among his brothers, but Fulgrim could easily meet Magnus eye to eye as he slithered from the darkness. "Do you mean to threaten me? What makes you so certain, brother?" Fulgrim replied, a smirk breaking out across his face. Of course his face would be the one thing he left unchanged. "I hold no sway over you, regretful as it is. But the warp is in flux, is it not? You know as well as I do the changes that occur within. What makes you think I would be so willing to follow you?" At this, Fulgrim laughed. "These are trying times, Magnus," he said, sliding behind Magnus once more. "And tell me, since when has Tsianch ever showed true favor towards you, you poor, abused creature? And I suppose your position is any better?" Magnus shot back. Fulgrim was about to respond when a second voice cut through. "Quiet, both of you." Magnus and Fulgrim turned as a third Primarch stepped out of the shadows. He was shorter than the other two, dressed in dark red and black armor, and an otherworldly light surrounded his head as he walked. "We have had our squabbles in the past, but I did not call you here to watch you bicker, amusing as it might be." "Then why did you call us here, Lorgar?" Magnus asked. "And why just us two?" "I have my reasons," Lorgar replied, stopping a fair distance from Magnus and Fulgrim. "I will speak with Perturabo and Mortarion separately. As for Angren, he will see reason in due time." "Reason for what?" "I need not explain much, Fulgrim," Lorgar said. "You know as well as I do the message that has rung through the warp. The game is broken, only destruction remains." Magnus said. "I suppose your insight was able to succeed where my divination failed." "You sell yourself too short, Magnus," Lorgar countered. "I do not mean to boast, but I have discovered certain avenues that perhaps you have overlooked." Magnus raised an eyebrow. He was the most powerful human psyker, and he had missed something? "What are you hiding, Lorgar? What have you seen, Lorgar?" "Many things, Magnus. I see the Imperium, flickering like a dying candle as the darkness closes in. I see the great devourer drawing ever closer, clawing at the dregs of reality. And I bring most interesting news," Lorgar smiled. "The Emperor has returned." Magnus said nothing. Fulgrim, however, was not so constrained. "Where is he?" he hissed. "Does he truly think he can hide from the truth? Where is he, so we can end his life once more?" "Temper, Fulgrim, temper," Lorgar chided. "I know not where he is, but rest assured once our plans are ready, you may have the first strike against his precious Imperium." "And your plans are?" Magnus asked. "The Emperor is in hiding, but he will soon reveal himself," Lorgar started. "On our own, we stand little chance to oppose him, but as one, as we struck against him under Horus Banner, and with the might of chaos on our side? We may yet overcome him." "And what of the others?" Magnus asked. "Not all of our brothers turned, and many are still alive." "Let me deal with the specifics, Magnus," Lorgar said. "For now, call out through the warp. Gather your legions to your worlds and prepare them for the crusade that is to come. When the time is right, and when the Emperor is at his weakest, we will strike and bring the glory of chaos to all who have been misled. Your rhetoric is as persistent as ever, Lorgar, Fulgrim said. But I will need more than words to convince me. What else do you have to offer? Oh, there is something planned, a demonstration of sorts, for you, Lorgar smirked. In a few months' time, you will see that my plan holds a powerful force behind it. All I ask is that you remain patient. My patience can only be stretched so far, Fulgrim growled. The Emperor has returned and you ask me to wait? This is not the time to wait. And that is why Guilliman nearly killed you all those years ago, Magnus countered. Though Fulgrim does have a valid point, your promises comprise much, but you have not given us anything more than assurances. My forces can be ready at a moment's notice, but I too will wait to see what your glorious plan is, Lorgar. Neither of you have any faith in your own brother, Lorgar scoffed. I'm wounded. But no matter, soon you will see the truth. No doubt. Magnus turned to leave. Farewell, brother. Magnus doubted the soundness of Lorgar's plan. The Primarch was a great speechmaker, but not always the best for grand strategy. The other Primarches would be interesting to observe. Fulgrim and perhaps Angren would be willing to listen to Lorgar once his demonstration was finished, while Perturabo and Mortarion might be more hesitant. So many possible paths. It would take time to sift through them all. Still unconvinced, Magnus? Fulgrim asked, sliding up alongside the Primarch. Not all of Lorgar's prophecies have borne substantial fruit. Magnus replied. And you? You were the one who asked for a sign. And I expect much from Lorgar. Fulgrim moved to cut off Magnus. But if the Emperor has returned, now is not the time for caution. He will strike quickly, and all that we have fought for will be undone. As if what we've created is worth defending. You, though, have traveled outside the warp to strike the Emperor's lapdogs. You were not subservient to Lorgar. Those were for my own personal grievances, Magnus countered. This is different. My power is considerable, but the Emperor's even more so. As Lorgar said, any of us striking alone will only bring disaster on us. If you want to rush into this, go ahead, perhaps you'll share more in common with Ferris. Magnus had barely finished when Fulgrim drew his swords, the demonic blades mere inches away from the Primarch's throat. Do not speak of matters that do not concern you. Fulgrim growled. On the contrary, they concern me a great deal. Magnus sidestepped Fulgrim's threat and continued on. I tire of this conversation. Seek me out when you have more pressing matters to discuss. Fulgrim made no effort to stop Magnus, much to the Primarch's relief. Dealing with the others always had its share of delicacies, and Magnus knew better than to listen to all of them at face value. As he prepared to return to the warp, Magnus cast a glance through time and space. He searched on, looking about the dying light of the Imperium for the one light that mattered. That of the Emperor. Our path draws ever closer, Emperor, he thought, sweeping the Immaterium once more. Revealing yourself further will only expedite our encounter. Hide all you want, but we will face each other, soon. As Magnus stepped into the warp, the darkness rose to meet him.